Hello there, and welcome to Safe Space Conversations. Thursdays we get together for our lunchtime conversation, talking all about things that advance women in their careers and self care, in their relationships, like all sorts of things. We just reserve these 30 minutes on Thursdays for our Safe Space Conversation. As you know, I'm Coach Dukwasa, and I pride myself on bringing value to my audience. I think really deeply about the issues and the things that women navigate and how they can be supported through the various experts that you've seen on the Evolving Woman TV, on Empowering Queens TV, and the Power of Her. Like every platform is designed to help women advance in their lives. It's what God has called me to be and to do, and I am giving 100% of my time, effort, and talents to doing exactly that. Well, I'm from the Caribbean, and when I was a little girl, there was this taboo subject called menopause. There would be women in the community who would be going through challenges, whether it be mood swings, whether it be um, what else? Hot flashes and night sweats, but these were all secret conversations. And sometimes these women were labeled as crazy. That was about 45 years ago. And we have advanced so much as a nation, and we have advanced so much with women's rights and with knowing all of the things that are happening with women and having them have access to better careers, more equal rights, for having more say in the world. And we're also advancing in women's health. Hey, Billy, so nice to see you. And so today I thought it would be so fitting to come live with my menopause coach. I'm very open about the fact that this wonderful lady that I'm about to introduce to you is someone who has helped me to balance my life and to take self care during my transition to full menopause. As a matter of fact, I am going to credit her with helping me bring harmony in my marriage as a result of some of the challenges that I was facing as it relates to navigating the mood swings, um, the dryness in my sensitive areas, the challenges that posed in our sexual life as a result. And this amazing lady was able to give me every remedy that I needed to bring myself in balance so that every other part of my life would be in balance. Hi, Dr. Michelle. So nice to see you. And so today I'd like to introduce you all to my menopause coach, Patrice Lockhart. Patrice, welcome to the conversation. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, hello, Dequessa, and it is so good to be here. Thank you for having me. Like you said, my name is Patrice Lockhart, and I am a menopause health practitioner. And I work with menopausal women to help them navigate their menopausal journey. I provide information, guidance, support, tools to help women through this transition in their lives. Um, I got into this area actually because of my personal menopausal journey. And I've shared it a couple of times. I literally went into menopause unaware, unprepared, and untold. And like you said, we are women of the Caribbean, we're from the Bahamas. And what I've understood, not just in the Bahamas or the Caribbean, but globally, menopause has been a taboo subject that the older women have not taken, and or the older women went through, but they did not pass on their knowledge to the younger women. And as a result, women like myself went into menopause totally unprepared, totally unaware, not knowing what to do, not even knowing what was going on. And like I said, when I entered menopause, I was not aware until 8 years after going through the transition. Then, in the middle of the night, when I thought I was dying of a heart attack, calling a good friend around 2, 3 something in the morning, afraid, I mean, very afraid. And she gently said to me, Patrice, why you don't accept the fact that you are perimenopausal? And when she said that, this is around 2, 3 something in the morning, I woke her up. And she was so sweet to me during that time. And I was all frantic. And when she said that, I stopped because I just been doing a lot of research about menopause, trying to figure out what was going on with me, actually. And all the research was showing I was perimenopause, but in my mind, I was too young to be going through menopause. So that couldn't be it.
Well,
That's
Patrice,
kind of how I started.
as you continue to share your story, tell us what some of those symptoms were, because a lot of times we have these symptoms, we're not connecting them to menopause. And I know that you have a list of 35 plus symptoms. So tell us what
Yes.
some of the symptoms are you experience, and also let us know what some of the other symptoms can be.
Okay. When I entered menopause, not knowing, at that point, I began to put on weight and I was not able to explain what was going on. I was not sleeping and dealing with a lot of anxiety. And during that time, I went into a phase where for about a year I was having disruptive sleep. Then it went into 6 weeks of sleeping for an hour to under an hour. And then it went into 3 days and 3 nights without sleep. And when I had was seeing physicians, no one told me that I was perimenopausal. And so those are three of the symptoms. But women deal with hot flashes and night sweats, nausea, fatigue, dizziness. Many women lose their sexual drive. Many women have vaginal dryness. They have urinary tract infections, especially in the menopause and postmenopause. So many of them are trying to figure out, why am I constantly getting these UTIs? Many women start dealing with bladder weaknesses. They are constantly using the bathroom, and they don't understand why. Many women are also dealing with incontinence, where they have urinary leaking, some fecal leaking. Then some women have prolapse. Then some women have tender breasts. Then the mood area. There's an area where women, their moods are changing constantly. They're anxious. They're irritable. They're aggressive. Then you have some women who are depressed, not motivated. I, the thing about menopause and the symptoms 35 plus is that they affect women not only physically, but emotionally and psychologically as well.
That's really a lot, a lot of
Yes,
changes. And I know that while we may not experience all 35 plus of the symptoms, we do have multiple. As you
correct.
began to coach me at that particular point in time, I think maybe 3 years ago, I started off with my hot flashes. I had the night sweats. I actually had insomnia. I had tender breasts, and it never occurred to me that any of these things were connected to being perimenopausal. I remember also hearing other women say to me that I was over exaggerating when I talked about the symptoms that I was feeling. I heard other women share that, it was an over exaggeration. That,
Yes,
you know,
unfortunately.
Yes. And so during that time, as my coach, you helped me to recognize that it was perimenopause. I started to enter the transition into the more mature stages of my life. And you
Yeah,
encouraged me to take care of myself by entering what I would call self care for the menopause woman. And what that looked like, I remember very vividly you telling me to give myself grace, right? Because
yeah,
brain fogginess was also a symptom that I
yes.
experienced. And so some of the
Hmm.
recommendations you gave me for my insomnia was like, get up out of bed at night if you can't sleep, just take a walk around. to make sure that I take the deep breaths in and out. For
Yes.
the hot flashes and the night sweats, you change my diet because who
Mhm.
connected diet with some of these
Yes.
symptoms of menopause, right? So I
Mhm.
have Duet is saying good day, good information to know on there for women on their journey to menopause. So
Yes.
as you talk to women today who are watching us live, what would be some of your recommendations for them as it relates to coming to terms with the fact that they may be 35 or 40 and are beginning to have some of these symptoms? Because, we don't want to get old.
You know, you know what's interesting? Many women are so in denial, and for many reasons. Not only the women, even the husbands. But that's another subject. One of the things I want to say first to women is that as long as you live to be in your 40s and beyond, you are going to go through this transition naturally. Now, we have some women who go into the transition a bit earlier, and there's a lot of things that are involved with why women happen to go into menopause earlier. But let's for now just deal with the natural transition. Naturally, once you hit 40 and above, you are going to go into this transition. And unfortunately, many of us, we just don't know when our bodies make that switch. For example, I remember, and I was only able to connect the dots afterwards. I had had my periods all my life at the beginning of the month, all my life. I mean, I could sleep on that. I could depend on that. I could put money in the bank on that. And then at early 40 something, all of a sudden, my period and when that happened, it was like, that's interesting. That's new. That's never happened. But I accepted it. What I didn't know was that my body had begun the transition. And as little girls, when we all come into this world, we come into this world with a basket of eggs. And when we get into the last 8 to 10 years of these basket of eggs that we need or we have up, or the last 8 to 10 years of eggs that we have that we need to use, we then go into this transition because where the body is saying, okay, you don't have what you had before, so you don't need the estrogen is saying you don't need me like you did, so I'm going to start packing up to leave. Now, that is one of the symptoms as well. The period change. And I want to say also, I did not say heart palpitations. That's very common for women thinking they're having a heart attack and about to die. Now, when it comes to self care, prioritizing, one of my big things I deal with menopausal women, literally sometimes I have to fight them for, is self care and prioritizing self care and self care activities because it is so important for managing stress, promoting well being, and also for managing your symptoms. So many women, I often say as women, we are so good at taking care of everybody else, whether we're on the job, making sure that things are happening, whether we're at home. So we put all of these things as priority when our bodies at this time needs us to pay closer attention. And self-care is not just physical, when we can go to the spa and relax, or we can take a nice bubble bath in the jacuzzi, play your jazz music with your scented candles, and if you want to read a book or whatever, those are good. You can go to the nail salon and take care of yourself, just a me day. That is good. But self-care is bigger than the physical. Self-care is also emotional, learning how to cope with stress in your day to day life and dealing with strategies. Even your body is affected by stress, by the emotional stress. Your body's also stressed physically when things are happening to you. So, learning how to not just handle stress, but learning how to deal with life and understand how to maneuver. One of the things I often say is that as menopausal women, we need to understand how life works and the laws that govern life. That sounds so cliche-ish, but it's the difference between you making it and not making it. We have a habit of thinking that we can carry the world and change the world, and there are things you cannot. There are things you cannot do, and learning to accept the things you can and do what you can for the things that can be changed
Yes.
at your level, that is so important.
That
And
is
then the
so
next,
powerful, Patrice, because just last night, as I lay in bed in shallow sleep, I heard myself telling myself, your cortisol levels are high,
mm,
because I had for the first three consecutive nights gotten up in the middle of the night. And I remember you sharing with me that that's usually a symptom of my cortisol level being high. And cortisol is the hormone that is produced by stress. And so last night, I remember telling myself,
mhm,
okay, your cortisol levels are high, which means that you're stressed. There's something that you have to do immediately to reduce the stress so that those levels can reduce and you can sleep better. Um,
yeah.
Tell us just a little bit about how the mismanagement of stress is keeps our bodies hormonally imbalanced.
When you are under consistent stress or constant stress, it puts the adrenal gland in a position where it produces cortisol. And when your body is producing cortisol, that's that fight or flight mode. The body cannot be relaxed if it's in a fight or flight mode. And your mind, then our minds as well. Many times it's going and going and going. And one of the strategies we need to learn as women is to look at our triggers. What's triggering me? Why am I angry because she said this to me or he said this to me? Why am I taking it to bed? And when I talk about, and I made here a list of points to go through so I'd stay on point, but one of the things women need to learn to do a lot of is self examination. Because when we begin to examine our whys, our triggers, and we are honest with ourselves, so many times we learn to have peace. Because if you say something to me and I'm upset, there is a reason why something is touched in me. And maybe I need to ask the question, you know what, why am I upset that the question said this? Is it because she's touching a fear in me? Is it because she's touching something that happened to me as a child? And every time I hear something around this kind of talk, it triggers me. And a lot of times we're blaming external factors. External factors may turn on the light switch, but the light switch is there. And when we learn to begin to, again, look inward, 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 then we learn to deal with, okay, maybe I'm dealing with this because I feel intimidated. Maybe I'm triggered because. And when we begin to do this journey with ourselves, it becomes where we are healed, we have peace, and where our external environment does not have such a big impact on us. We stay in a place of peace.
I
So
love that.
that is important for the emotional aspect. And
Yes.
then the third aspect, like I said, there's physical, there's emotion, and there is mental, our mental state as women. And many times with my clients, it's the question is, what are you thinking up here? What is going on up here? What stories are you constantly repeating to yourself? What thoughts are you having that's causing you to be fearful? What habits habitually that you have been having that's cultural from your in your home, your family, your community, that causes you to think a certain way, but it's not in your best interest. But you keep holding on to it because it's cultural, it's habitual, but it isn't serving your best interest, and you're afraid to change. All of these are areas for self care that we need to look at. Again, the physical stuff is great, but peace on the inside of you cannot be reached by going to the spa. Yes,
Yeah.
it can
Yeah.
relax you, it can
Yeah.
help to bring down those cortisol levels,
Yeah.
etc. But dealing with from within, and as mature women, we have gone through a lifetime of issues.
Yes.
We are dragging and bringing along a whole lot of issues that is wreaking havoc in our lives. And
Yeah.
here's the thought that comes to mind: there is no curse that's causeless. So everything that's happening to you, you have more control over as a
Yes.
menopausal woman, and prioritizing self-care is looks like this for menopausal women.
So I want to just share with you what Billy Lunn is saying, that she is postmenopause and she is still experiencing some
Oh
symptoms.
yes.
And then
Uh-huh.
Billy is also saying that she was very emotional on her menopause journey. She literally cried for everything. That's that frustration too, boy, Billy. I know exactly what you're talking about. And Patrice, what you're saying is so powerful. And it's really that self care is truly about creating the boundaries that we need to keep what we need for ourselves in. Like, we think boundaries are created to keep things and people out, but boundaries are actually created for our own peace. And as menopausal women, there are certain things that we have to let go of, and that include the pain
Mhm.
of the past. It
Yes.
includes the expectations of others, and it also includes being okay with whatever our limitations are. Just being
Yes.
okay, just really being.
Yes.
And there's,
Uh-huh.
there's one subject I want to touch right before we wrap up, because we do, we're aiming for 30 minutes here. But I do know that, you've been doing a lot of these series with corporate businesses here in the Bahamas on what women need to know about menopause, because let's just keep it real. When you have these menopause issues, it impacts your productivity at work, and it impacts your productivity at work
Yes.
because you are preoccupied with your health issues, right? So
Yes.
mentally, you have all this stuff going on.
Going on.
And don't work in a toxic work environment, because if you work in a toxic work environment, that is even worse, because that's your stress
Yes.
being triggered because you're
Yeah.
in a bad culture, and then you don't have understanding bosses. So if you
Yes.
were able to speak with bosses all across the world, people who are supervisors and managers and leaders, what would you say to them about creating a tolerant workplace so that women who are navigating menopause can actually have reduced stress at work?
First of all, what I would say is that, just like you said, menopause affects the workplace so much more than we can ever imagine. And the first thing that is big for any culture, that should be big for any organizational culture, is women's health. When you have a lot of women working for you, because if you want productivity, if you want to be the best of the best, if you want to alleviate a lot of issues you're dealing with, then dealing with what is going on with that woman is also very important. And the stage of a woman, from women from 40 to 65, they will go through the menopausal process, and they will be your supervisors, they will be your bosses, they will be handling your work. These women deal with lack of focus and concentration. These women forget like crazy. These women have many times have to go to the bathroom often, and it's embarrassing to talk about. These women are having heart palpitations. They're dealing with anxiety, and they're hiding it in the workplace because so many of the business cultures are not friendly to menopause education. And so it menopause does affect the workplace. And then even women working with women in this environment. Many women bosses, they come to work, they're miserable, and the staff is wondering, oh geez, she is she is miserable, she is moody, she is she is this, she's that, she's forgetful. And sometimes it affects the next person's work because the woman is not motivated. There's so many things that is affecting the workplace. And what I would say to any business organization that has women in their organization, menopause education is so important. And that's one of the things I focus on in the corporate world, because women are not talking about it. And especially there's a lot of environments where women feel as though they have to hide what's going on. And so days of absenteeism happen, but they can't tell, many women can't tell their bosses because they don't understand.
Yeah.
Um, I've heard a number of corporate stories where one woman actually had a breakdown at work because they weren't listening to her, that she had a hormonal imbalance. And it
Yes.
wasn't until it happened, both men and women understood the complexity and the degree that it could happen in the workplace. So education is
Yeah.
big, and persons like myself, I am big on going into corporate organizations, helping them to create the culture to understand menopausal women, where your supervisors and your managers also are able to identify when a woman is going through this process and it's affecting the job, even when she herself does
Yeah.
not know it. So I
Yes.
also train leaders how
Yeah.
to recognize it, how to have the conversations with these women, and how to put things in place to help these women, because they are a part of your community in the workplace.
I mean, and let's just be real again, right? In reality, we get experience with age. So we go to school, we go to college, we come out, we go to work. We may be in our 30s, we're heading into our 40s. And so by the time we put in 10 years experience, 15 years experience in the corporate world, we are entering into the phase of our lives where we're beginning our transition. So the
Mhm.
experience that women bring to the world and bring to those corporate organizations, that experience is so vital for the organization's
Yes,
success because they're now getting to the place of confidence in their roles and understanding their roles. And
yes,
it's just really a no-brainer for business organizations to make the
invest.
culture such that women navigating the change feel comfortable, because the more comfortable they are, the more they're able to contribute to that organization's bottom line and help that organization continue to improve in their profit. Because every business is operating for profit.
Yes,
You want to
profit.
keep that
Yes,
experience. You want to
yeah.
keep the experienced women
Yes, you
at
want to
your
keep your best
organization.
employees.
Correct.
Yes.
And so
I had a
that,
client.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
I mean, so that younger employees can benefit from the mentorship of the more mature ladies.
Yes.
It's just a no-brainer to be more understanding of their transition and to be mindful of the fact that, a woman doesn't have to come to you at 40 to say, hey, I'm transitioning, I'm starting to have menopause issues. You should automatically know that once that woman hits the age of 40, there are going to be some changes in her life, and be
Yes.
open to
Uh-huh.
working with her.
Which will affect your environment. And
Yeah,
also, one of the things that we don't realize, women are leaving their jobs because of menopause. I had a client just the other day. She, because of what was going on, she said, I had to leave. But
yeah.
her employers don't know what the
Okay.
reason was. I just had another client also. She had to get a doctor's certificate so that she can work from home because she was
Wow.
using the bathroom so often. And
Wow.
a lot of the problems that are being experienced is directly because of menopause. And if
Mm,
we put what is needed in place, organizations can keep the wealth of experience, can keep the maturity that's needed to
yeah.
mentor the next generation of employees in place. But you must, if you don't manage it, you will lose it.
Yes.
That's the best way I can put it.
Well, listen, Patrice, this has been a brilliant conversation, and as always, 30 minutes is never enough
Yes.
time to go deep into a subject, but we do want people to have at least 30 minutes to eat on their lunch hour. So we've taken
Yeah.
30 minutes of their time.
Mm.
And I believe that we should come again to have more conversations because
Yes.
as we begin to give voice to the value of experienced women and help them to one, see their value, two, get in self care as they navigate this transition to the more joyous years of their lives. And then three,
Mhm.
help business organizations learn what it takes to keep that experience will require multiple of these sessions over time. But in the meantime, if anybody would like to join Patrice's menopause survival group, I have placed the link in our chat because she has a menopause survival group on Facebook. This survival group provides a lot of information, tips, and tools for women navigating menopause. Coach T, it's so nice to see you here today. Dr. Michelle, I see your comment that organizations should recognize the value of women in every season of life. Grace should be
Yes.
granted to allow us to evolve emotionally, physically, and psychologically.
Yes.
Education is needed for us to thrive as individuals and
Very,
organizing as a society. So, Patrice,
very
as I
important.
wrap up, I am just going to make an appeal to anyone watching today's video. If you know that you're navigating, beginning your journey, or if you're in the middle of your journey, or like Billy at the end and you're still experiencing symptoms, I'd like to encourage you to connect with Patrice. I My life dramatically changed as a result of working along with Patrice as a menopause coach.
Mhm.
And the other day we had a live on Facebook and somebody messaged me and said, "Girl, you had a menopause coach?" Well, listen, I transitioned and I need help. So yes, I
Yes.
have a menopause coach.
Yeah.
And I want to openly just credit you, Patrice, for the way that your coaching has helped to bring more energy and life into the intimacy in my bedroom with my husband because it's
Mhm.
revived so many things for us.
To
And
God
also
be the
because
glory.
of the way that you've helped to change my diet. As a result of that, the mood swings are minimal. I've been only when I'm stressed and working on projects, I'm facing insomnia, but more so, I've also my skincare. Like you've given me products
Uh,
that just help my skin to radiate so I don't
yes,
have
I
that
can see the
redness.
difference on
I'm telling
online.
you,
I can
girl,
see
I'm
it.
not even
Yes.
stuck worried with them wrinkles because you've given me these wonderful products. So I'd just like to encourage anyone who may be navigating menopause. If you're not certain of what to do, if you're having any challenges, reach out to Patrice. She's in the survival group. If you want to speak with her personally and you may not want to, openly reach out to her in the survival group, I will also go ahead and put her private Facebook link. Patrice, you can go ahead and type your phone number that people can use to text or WhatsApp you on so that they can reach out to you privately because it is a tender subject. But the more we
Yeah.
talk about it, the more we're going to take the stigma away from this. And then finally, Patrice also conducts the pelvic floor courses that help you to build the pelvic and strengthen your vagina muscles again. So if you need any of those things, please reach out to Patrice. She is going to be able to help you transform your life. Patrice, I'm just going to wrap up, but you can go ahead and post that information in the chat for me, please. Ladies, thank you so much for joining today's conversation about self care in menopause and about what businesses can do to support women navigating the changes in life. As mature women, we bring so much value to our homes, to our communities, to our workplaces. And that value should be seen and appreciated. We ought to have a voice and be able to share with those who lead us about the complications that we may be experiencing as a result of beginning to navigate what is a natural part of a woman's life. As women, we give birth and we give birth to men and women. And so everyone should be cognizant and yet understanding of how the body is designed and how those changes may impact us, but it doesn't diminish the value that we bring. As a matter of fact, our experience is what's needed to keep some of these organizations and companies afloat and making profits. Never be ashamed of what you are naturally experiencing. You were created exactly the way that you are. As a woman, you've been created to go through all of these phases of life from pre-child, from pre-K to kindergarten to primary school to preteen to teen to your most productive years, and then to begin the navigation into your less productive years, then to not have a period and be carefree and happy in the world because you don't have to deal with that mess every month. These are all things that we've been designed to do. So never, ever, ever be ashamed of the way that you're transitioning in life. Thank you for tuning in and spending some of your lunch hour with us. I will bring Patrice back for another safe space conversation where we talk more about successfully navigating the changes that menopause brings. Until that time, God bless you all. Take care. And I remember, I'm rooting for you. Bye bye.